Ready?
Hit it!
Hello everyone and welcome to Twice Nightly the podcast with Maria Lovelady
And Michael Allen Bailey, a podcast that aims to bring everything variety out of the wings and into the limelight.
So what are we waiting for?
Let's raise the curtain
And start the show!
Coming up on today's episode, we talk tickle sticks and glow sticks.
Were Hamlet and A Midsummer Night's Dream the Hollyoaks of their day? We'll find out as we chat to Shakespeare North's Madam of Ceremonies, that's Chief Executive Mel Lewis.
And we find out which comedian channels their inner Patrick Swayze at the pottery wheel.
He says ditto! Welcome everyone to episode 4. We're very excited to have you all back with us, and we've got a very exciting show this week. Now, sometimes we talk about people, we talk about shows, we talk about all these different aspects of theatre, but today we're going to be talking about something that we especially love, which is a venue, a theatre. Maria, tell us what theatre we're going to be talking about today. So excited.
So today we're going to be talking about the Shakespeare North Playhouse, which opens this week on the 15th of July. And it's a playhouse that's been built in Prescot. And it's really exciting to talk about a venue that's so local to us in the Northwest. Because we always ask people, don't we, what's your favourite theatre? And a lot of people, they do, don't they, talk about their favourite local theatres. There's something about regional theatre, I think, that connects people to theatre. And it excites them. And I think, you know, there's so many stunning venues all around the world, but it's always those local places that get everybody's hearts going all gooey. But what's amazing about this venue is that not only is it a regional theatre, but it also sounds, after talking to Mel Lewis, our guest today, who is Chief Exec of Shakespeare North, it sounds like it is going to be the most stunning place. And what a privilege it is to have that where we live.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's the third of a trio, isn't it? It's going to be the third of the big Shakespearean based and themed theatres in the UK. So there's there's the Globe.
There's the Globe in London on South Bank. There is the RSC in Stratford. And then finally, the North, we have got our own Shakespearean base, which I think has been long overdue. And you'll hear in this episode today with Mel about why Prescot. I'm sure that's what a lot of people think, isn't it, when they hear about this. You will hear all about the architecture of the building, what the building's being used for. And I mean, I think what I got from this interview is just that feeling that they really want this place to be for community and for building art and for building I think a lot of people say, oh, we want to build a future of talent, but they kind of want to invest in people at every different stage of their career, in different stages in life, and to find not only Shakespeare, but to find theatre wherever you are in your theatre journey.
Exactly. Well, because that was the basis of Shakespearean theatre when it was, you know, in Shakespearean times, wasn't it? It was bringing people together and just entertaining and having fun. And Mel explains that perfectly in the interview. For me personally, going into this interview with Mel, I didn't know what to expect at all. I thought chief executive, it's probably going to be very businesslike. It's going to be very formal. It's going to be
the
very
sales pitch. We're going to get the sales pitch.
Totally, it's going to be a sales pitch, and it just wasn't. Mel was so warm and welcoming and so passionate. I think, again, whenever we have guests on, the thing that comes across the strongest to us is the passion from the people, and Mel has got that in abundance.
Yes, after talking to Mel, you definitely got the feeling that it was in very safe hands.
1000%.
Now, I know that everyone listening to this will want to know, how can I go? How can I get involved with the Shakespeare North? Their official opening is happening this week on the 15th of July, and it's from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The public are welcome to go into the venue, explore. There's going to be food and drink and press, and that is open for anybody. So anybody that's listening, feel free to go down.
And there's going to be workshops as well, isn't there, that people can get involved in on the day?
Yes, so there's going to be just so much going on and something for everybody, which when you listen to Mel in the interview, that's definitely the vibe of the building. So it's really nice to know that they're kicking it off with a bang, I guess. And then on the 15th of July, they're going to be hosting an amazing ceremony. So the ceremony is called All the Joy You Can Wish. and it's going to be outside the venue at 6 p.m., where everyone will celebrate the opening of the Playhouse and the heritage of Prescot itself.
It's going to be an extravaganza.
An absolute extravaganza. So anyone that wants to go down and be part of the Shakespeare North Playhouse right from the get-go, get yourself down there. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm going to be there with bells on. Actually, probably with bells on.
And glow sticks and tickle sticks.
Yes! Because that's it, isn't it? There's going to be so much activity going on for all ages. I mean, whether you're 2 or 200, there's going to be something for you.
I feel like that they're the ones that you would gravitate towards as well, Mike.
What, the ones for the 200-year-olds?
And the ones for the 200-year-olds. Anything in the middle is not quite really you. But the 2-year-old and the 200-year-olds, absolutely bang on.
I'll do the hokey cokey with a glow stick with the 2-year-olds, and then I'll sit and have a cup of tea and knit with the 200-year-olds.
Get your needles out.
Did you say get your needles out because I'm a diabetic?
You don't need them anymore, do you?
Is that a slur? Yes!
I thought you had that patch on your arm.
No, that doesn't, cure me.
Oh, yeah, and does that just tell the levels?
It's not like a nicotine patch. That line is absolutely fabulous. How many times have I nearly overdosed? I think I can survive a patch.
Oh, I'm reading Jennifer Saunders' autobiography at the moment. Bonkers. You told me to read it ages ago. It's so
good, isn't it?
You can really tell that she's written it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It's just like stepping into her mind, and it is bonkers. So that's my book recommendation of the week, everybody. Go out and find it. I found it in a charity shop for 99p. Definitely is worth a lot more than that.
For a stack of books that I still need to read. I'm just coming to the end of Joan Collins. I've got Miriam Margulies, Victoria Wood, and Craig Rever Horwood. What a lineup.
And thank you for those of you for getting in touch last week, because we've had such great reception from our last interview that we did with Guy Onsworth, the writer and director of Some Mothers Do Adam Tour, that is touring the UK at the moment, taking the UK by storm. It's got 5-star reviews all over the place. It's such a great show, so please go and see it. And if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to Guy. If you are a fan of comedy, he is someone to listen to, because, well, he's a funny guy himself, but also he talks about it in such a, well, he's called it the science of comedy, doesn't he?
Well, we keep bringing up that word passion, don't we? But he's got a real passion for comedy, and that shines through, I think, in his interview, but also when you meet him, and also when you watch the show. I mean, we have seen the show, but I know that I'm definitely going to be going and seeing it again when it comes further up north.
And we're really happy that came across, because so many of you got in touch and told us that you just loved that episode, and that it was really useful for you, actually, because I've spoken to some actors that found that really useful as well. So yes. And
just a follow up from last week's interview, I'm about halfway through Man versus Bee, but we won't talk about it fully until you've watched it as well, Maria.
Yes, no, Man versus Bee. I'm going to get onto it, because now I know that the episodes are only 10 minutes. I've got
they're dead short. They're dead short. Excuse me, can we talk about the trailer for Hocus Pocus 2?
It's amazing. Oh,
doesn't
my gosh,
it
I'm
look
so
incredible? I like the way that they've kind of it looks modern, but yet it's really nostalgic as well. Like the whole beginning bit with the kids, it feels very kind of Stranger Things, doesn't it? You know, very very current. And then
they just
Sanderson sisters just rock up, and you think this is what it's all about.
And I think the fact that 90s fashion and everything's back in, so to I know that my nieces will think it's really cool because that's the fashion now, but for us that's what we used to wear. Yeah.
Tom messaged me actually asking if I'd seen it, and he was like, he said I still just haven't seen the original. He was like, is it too late to sort of watch it? And I was like, no. I said, especially now that you've got the 2 boys. I said, this is the prime time to watch it.
Yeah, that's
I said you should watch it with them, introduce it to them, and you watch it for the first time with them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
My only thing is, right, imagine having the pressure of you're making Hocus Pocus 2. They've got to, I mean, just from the trailer alone, we know that there's going to be a musical number. We know that we're going to get another song. The fact that, he asks them, the fact that he asks them where the stage is, we're going to get a second I Put a Spell on You. What song do you choose for them to do? That, because I was honestly thinking that has got to be
song.
Exactly. That's got to be the hardest job for the person who decides what song they're going to sing.
Beth.
Because part of me was like, do you think they'll just do I Put a Spell on You again? And I was like, no, they can't do that. Surely they can't do that.
What other songs?
But what other song could you pick? And it's called Black Magic.
Because they've already done it. He's singing Bewitched, isn't he? The actual
yeah.
singer.
Yeah.
So that's been done.
It's a kind of magic.
Oh my God, I'd be so excited if they did that. There's only one person that can take on Freddie in my mind, and that is Bet.
I showed my mum, actually. I showed my mum in the thing that she sort of took away from it the most. She said, God, she went, they all still look brilliant, don't they? They all still look great.
Yeah, because they've
I was like, yeah.
Because they've been taking the souls of children for the last 20 years. and just the line, just that.
Just the word, it's one word.
Yeah, exactly. And
it
just
says
makes
one
you
word.
It just makes you know that whoever's like in charge knows what they're doing. Totally. And someone else that's in charge that knows what they're doing is Mel Lewis at the Shakespeare North Playhouse.
Oh, what a fabulous segue. Right then, shall we get Mel Lewis on to tell us all about the fantastic Shakespeare North Playhouse, which is opening on the 15th of July. Be there or be square.
Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, how are you?
Really good, thanks.
I'm all right, thank you very much.
Thank you for meeting us. I assume it's the end of your day.
I've probably got a good couple of emails to do after this, but you know what it's like.
Yeah.
A nice little distraction.
How are you guys? You okay?
Really good, thanks, yeah. A little tiny bit frazzled, but we're happy, Mel.
Frazzled's okay, so long as you're happy.
Frazzled and happy.
So we are just so happy to meet with you today, and we are really excited being local performers in the area. We really are excited to know everything that there is to know about Shakespeare North and your involvement in it and how it's going to shape the community that you've built it in.
Well, thank you. You're right. It's a different project, Shakespeare North Playhouse. It really is setting a different tone for how hopefully theatre will behave and interact with its local community. So we are putting it at the very, very centre of the local community, and we're asking people to come in and be involved as much as they want to, as much as they possibly can. And it's really interesting that we're going to be open from early in the morning till late at night. So this isn't you just come for a performance. It's going to be like a bit of a common room for all of us, you know, to chat, to experience, to maybe do some workshops, join the knitting club, join the reading club. I was talking to somebody the other day who said, can we start a chess club? And I was like, yes, we absolutely can.
Fabulous.
The only caveat being that I need to have a wardrobe as distinguished as Beth in what's the Netflix series? In Queen's Gambit, yeah. I need her wardrobe, and then we can have a chess club. But that's the kind of creative.
You need to wait for the chess club for that. I think that should just be what you wear as chief exec at all times.
Mandatory requirements.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making it happen. It's happening. But those kind of they're the conversations that I love, because it's what do people want to use Shakespeare North Playhouse for? So yeah, we will have the most incredible theatre on stage, and you would expect that from us. And in many respects, you should demand it from us. And there'll be brilliant theatre, there'll be brilliant contemporary theatre, but it is also about emerging artists and giving emerging artists the space to be able to create and grow and learn together. It's about children and young people and being able to explore who you are, what you want to be. And it may be that you don't want to be on the stage, that's okay. But you might quite fancy being in the technical attic, you know, doing some sound and some lighting, or you may quite fancy working front of house, or you may want to work in the kitchen. And so we've got loads of volunteer opportunities. We've got loads of opportunities for kids. We've got a massive education programme that we'll be launching that sits alongside it. So yeah, we're about making sure we are a a facility, a tool. I hate the word facility. A tool, a resource for our local community. It is for the people. This is a theatre for the people of Prescot, of Knowsley, of Liverpool, and I dare say of the North. It's about really setting the tone for being bold and brave in theatre and art, and saying, what should we do differently? And asking that question and seeing what people say.
I'm going to throw out a really general question now, Mel. Why is that important? Why is that important to you to provide that?
Well, I think really particularly in certain areas of the country, you might not have had that in your life. You may not have been able to explore theatre. Mm-hmm. And I know that for a lot of people, you go to school, you'll maybe read Shakespeare. You may think about doing something in an art form, maybe performance, maybe some other art. You may think about it, but really, where do you see it? Where do you see it come to life? And we're really lucky in the north of England, and particularly in the northwest, that we've got great theatres, we've got great museums, we've got great galleries. But do we have enough? My argument would be no. And this gives us opportunity to just explore things differently, as I said. And how do we do that? So if you put people at the heart of what you do, it suddenly becomes incredibly valuable to everybody. And we know, particularly us guys, because we work in this arena all of the time, we know how much impact it has on you as a human being, on how much it allows you to grow and explore and just fulfill your potential or be the person that you want to be. And I think for me, what is critical is that we give that to as many people as possible. We allow people to explore art on their own terms. We'll ask a provocation, we'll ask questions. And we'll say, let's be different and do it together. One of the things I love about Shakespeare North Playhouse and my incredible team, by the way, we haven't recruited everybody yet, so I would definitely ask if anybody wants to come and join us, please look on the website, because we've got loads of jobs. But I think for the entire team, it's important for us that we're saying, when we open on the 15th of July, it's not the end, it's not the finished article. It's just us saying, well, this is as far as we've got, what should we do next? We'll grow with our community, with our artists. It'll be a really long journey to make something that's lasting for generations to come.
I love it. It sounds like a creative playground.
Oh, I like that. Can I
just somewhere you have it? You can have it. A place where creatives go to just play and explore and experiment.
It is, but the interesting thing is, so it is about artists and how do we support artists and how do we allow that creative freedom, and then how do we make sure that we're making that accessible to everybody. So, it may be somebody who thought that they could have been an artist, but they've almost fallen out of the loop of it. How do we get them back in? Yeah. How do we say that you can do this part-time? It doesn't, it doesn't need to be a full-time job. You can come on a Friday evening and explore your creativity. And how do we make sure that it's for everybody? So, we are truly accessible and we're truly inclusive to everyone. And that's difficult because it means that you've got to ask them tough questions. And we've been doing that. And I think that, when we get past, open the doors on that 15th of July, as I say, it's the start of that conversation. So how do we continue and strive to be as inclusive as we can be, as diverse as we can be? There's so much more that everybody can do in society, let alone in theatre. But there's so much more that we can do. And I think it's about opening up that conversation and say, please come and talk to us. And people are, which is great. Already, we're not even open yet and we're having those conversations, which is wonderful.
I love on your website as well, something that really stuck out to me was that idea of community. As soon as you go on the website, you can see the education, you can see the place for creatives. That's not always easy to find on theatre websites. It can sometimes be a little bit hidden how to contact certain people. And not only that, but also the community. I love the way that you say just come in and have a cup of tea. So for somebody who may have never liked theatre, may not be interested in theatre, that's their way of sort of dipping their toe in, is to have a cup of tea. And then what really struck me, and I'd love to ask you more about the initiative, is the pay what you decide.
I'm so glad you picked that up, because I was just about to say, well, have you heard about pay what you decide? Thank you so much for the feedback on the website as well, by the way, because there's a beauty in starting from scratch, in saying, well, what do we want to do? Well, that's what goes on the front page. You know, there's 4 or 5 things. So thanks, because what I'm hearing back there is we're doing all right. But in terms of pay what you decide, and I adore this concept, because you are right. If you've never been to the theatre before, well, what's going to entice you to come? And yes, okay, it may be that you think, well, that's a piece of performance that I might be quite interested in. It's a piece of music I might be interested in. But what is going to entice you to come is perhaps there not being a barrier to price. And so pay what you decide, it is across all of Shakespeare North Playhouse. So you can look at our website, you can see that we've got lots and lots of different performances, lots of different plays, lots of different comedy pieces. And in every single one of them, there is an option for pay what you decide. Now, pay what you decide actually starts from £3 per ticket. So even for A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is our big blockbuster piece that's coming in September, even for As You Write It, which is our BBC One playwrights competition for young artists, even those plays have pay what you decide. And ultimately, you pick your ticket and you pay what you think that it might be worth. You pay what you think you can afford, and that's okay by us. And if it's £3, brilliant. And if it's £50, brilliant. But I think the whole point of that is to start breaking down barriers. We don't want there to be a barrier to come through the threshold of the front door, or there be a barrier to you trying maybe some form of art or some form of theatre for the first time. So there will be, not all of our tickets are pay what you decide, so I don't want anyone to get like super excited and think, oh, that's brilliant. There are limited tickets, and that the reason why there are limited tickets is because, you know, we're a creative hub, we're a creative organisation, and it does cost money to be able to do that and to do it well. And we've said from the beginning that one of the things we want to do is we want to do this well. We want to try and pay our artists, you know, as much as we possibly can in terms of valuing their expertise. We want to make sure that we look after people when they come in, and that costs money. So things like, we're also looking at open call for casting. So for Midsummer Night's Dream, we'll have an open call for casting, which is, you know, I think we'd all agree is pretty progressive. We're going to try and do that as much as possible, because we do want to be able to get the message out there that anyone can give this a go. Anyone can try. This is for everybody. A playhouse that is for everybody.
We'll see you there. We'll see you at the open casting.
Yeah. I'm not sure our creative director Laura is going to give me any kind of vote, and she'd be right to do that. She'd be absolutely right to do that. But it is open to everybody, and I really hope that we get such a great take up in terms of the call. I'm sure we will.
Of course you will. And I think there's so much talent in the local area and across the Northwest. And not only the talent that's going to come in, but you've just mentioned Laura, and you just mentioned Midsummer, which is Matthew Dunster is directing. These are huge names in theatre. This isn't just, you're playing with the big theatres. You're taking on the big theatres with this project. How do you fit in as sort of the captain of that ship, steering all of these people that are from the best walks of their own industries?
Wow, what a question. I do feel like the team captain, and I think that's important to say. And it's different from being the chief exec. I really do feel like a team captain, because the team is phenomenal. I will say we're all women, which I think is really important. And our board is incredible too. So our board is, I think we're nearly 70% female. And I think that's really important because it brings different voices into the room. We've still got work to do to make sure that we're truly inclusive, and we are, really trying to bring as many voices as we can around the table. But yeah, in terms of my leadership style, it is about empowerment. It's allowing brilliant people to be brilliant. And I know that sounds easy, and maybe it's easier because we're a new organisation. We've kind of got that blank piece of paper, so we can say, let's all allow people to be brilliant. Good people, be brilliant, and we'll go from there. But Laura has been the most incredible creative director and bowls me over every single day with the ideas and what's coming, which I can't talk about in 23 and 24. But we went for our tea on Monday, and I nearly fell off my chair with excitement with the things that Laura's working on for 23, 24. It's just incredible. And even beyond, 25, 26. So that I can't wait to talk about. But you're right, in terms of the partnerships, and that's one of the key milestones for what we want to do at Shakespeare North Playhouse is, we're not going to be a producing house. We're going to be a co-producing house. And that's really, really important, that we will be able to say, we're bringing in the best. We're bringing in the best talent. We're bringing in the best people. We're having the best conversations. And we'll try different things. We'll try different ways of working. We'll try different productions. So yeah, Matthew Dunster and Midsummer Night's Dream, and working with Not Too Tame and working with Northern Stage. Yeah, we did. We made a point of saying, no, we're really going for this.
We're open.
And we're open. We're really going for this. And long may that continue, because every conversation is around the same kind of themes with the same kind of wonderful people.
You did that very well, Mel. That was a very tantalising carrot to dangle in front of us. I want to know what's coming in 23 and 24 now.
Can't tell you. My lips are sealed. Because Laura will kill me.
Well, why don't we take it back to the beginning? So for our listeners that maybe have not seen the coverage about Shakespeare North Playhouse or are not from the local area, can we know, because the history behind why you've built the Playhouse on this spot in Prescot is so interesting. So maybe can we know a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. And it would be fair, and I could forgive people if they said, Shakespeare North Playhouse in Prescot, what's all that about? That's a fair question if you've, perhaps not been on our website, or perhaps you've not listened to the radio recently. That's okay. But Prescot really is a magical town. And it's got the most brilliant history, heritage, just artistic, cultural vibe about it. Now, that's not enough to build a Shakespearean theatre, totally get you. But so really the story really starts with Prescot as a market town 500, 600 years ago. I mean, it was the place where people would pass through. So if you were going north or south, east or west, chances are you were stopping off in Prescot. So that was where you stopped off, fed the horses, had a good sleep, went to a good inn, which I'm very proud of, and possibly watched some art, watched some theatre, watched some performers of the day. And Prescot had one of the only purpose-built theatres at the top of Eccleston Street. So top of Eccleston Street, we're at the bottom of Eccleston Street currently. So 500 years ago, it was the place to be. It was the place for theatre. And you've also then got as a place, it's under the protection 500 years ago, 600 years ago of Lord Derby, who's still there now. Lord Derby is our president, so has been the custodian. Which is a really nice link to say that, quite possibly the 5th Earl of Derby, who was a huge patron of the arts, and now we've got the 19th Earl of Derby, huge patron of the arts, all looking at theatre. And that 5th Earl of Derby also had a bit of a nickname called Lord Strange, and that was the forerunner to Lord Chamberlain's men. So Lord Strange's men was a group of players that would, perform different theatre. And it said that, there are chances that perhaps Shakespeare passed through, that perhaps Shakespeare was writing, and that perhaps Shakespeare was part of Lord Strange's men. And the reality is, we don't have any evidence written down that says, we went for a pint in this bar on this day, and he stayed in Lord Derby's house. We don't have that evidence, and we're not claiming that we do.
And
However,
just to interrupt, Lord Derby's house is Knowsley Hall, right? Just for our listeners that are listening. And Lord Chamberlain's Men was Shakespeare's troupe of actors that he was writing for and acting with, just to fill people in there.
Yeah, of course.
Fabulous.
And Lord, just like Knowsley Hall is absolutely incredible. So if anybody is coming up, you need to go and have a look around. And they also have a safari park. I mean, what more do you want out of life in Prescot?
Well, I was born in Prescot, so I am not going to argue with you there.
There you go. Really interesting. And I can't say that there's any evidence, but then there doesn't need to be, because what we're saying is we are inspired by Shakespeare, and because of that, a Shakespearean theatre deserves to be, well, anyway, because we all own Shakespeare. That's the beauty of it. And there's very little evidence of where Shakespeare was at any given moment. He goes missing for years at a time in history.
There's no evidence that he was there, Mel, but there's no evidence that he wasn't.
Good point. I like it. But going back to that point about being inspired by Shakespeare, so one of the things that we say in some of our communication and our formal documentation, like our strategic plan, we're inspired by Shakespeare and we bring joy. So if we just do those two things, then everything else is going to be all right, And we also talk about how we're going to be bold and brave, which I think really speaks to what you're saying before about our website and how we are part of the community and how we want to do things differently. So the history is intriguing. The history is wonderful. Prescot being a really, really old part of the country, and also being very culturally aware. It was a place where it was vibrant, where people did perform, where there was performers, there was theatre, there was variety. In its truest form 500 years ago, we would have had jesters and jugglers and stilt walkers, and that really leads to our procession, which is all the joy. That's on the 15th of July, which is our procession that walks through kind of town, that opens the theatre, that really takes us from the old theatre at the top of Eccleston Street, or where it would have been, to the new theatre where we are today.
I mean, fabulous. I think that will be a feast for the eyes. And I think Liverpool is known, isn't it, nationally, for putting on a show. And I'm sure that you will be absolutely at the forefront of living up to that reputation.
Yeah. What I love about Liverpool is, as well as putting on a good show, we know how to make people laugh. We know how to make people feel welcome. And we are... Yeah, I wonder whether that's something to do with the fact that we have always welcomed travellers. So whether it is kind of Prescot and those, up and down, left and right of the country, or whether it's, our shipping routes and things like that, we've always been a people who've looked out to the rest of the world and said, oh, that looks like a bit of an adventure. What's out there? And I think that means that we've also welcomed people in. And I think that leads to our ability to be creative, our ability to be welcoming, and I think that this is a continuation of that. I think spot on.
And I think a misconception as well with Shakespeare is that it's posh,
highbrow,
for educated people. It's highbrow, but actually Shakespeare was writing for the masses, and you've got that, if you're looking at the globe, that was not the same, but almost a pay what you decide system, where you could just stand at the front and you could stand there and watch Hamlet for 4 hours, or you could sit further back and have a more comfortable seat with a cushion. And I think that people don't realize how bawdy Shakespeare can be, that it's funny, that you've got those working class characters, that are outwitting the noble characters, the women that are outwitting the men. He really was a visionary in his day, and I think that for me is why he's still popular today, because we can reinvent these stories for our time.
Yeah, I totally agree that Shakespeare was always accessible, and it was like the soap opera of its day in many respects. It was where everybody went to meet socially, to have a good night out and to have a good laugh, or to be entertained by a good tragedy. And I think that that's what we're, hoping to kind of replicate that vibe. I think for me, where Shakespeare's writing is as important today as it was then, is because he got the measure of people.
Yes.
He understood the psychology and the emotion of people, and how we all interact, and how we all love, and how we all hate, and how we all get jealous. And I think that whenever you see a piece of really good Shakespeare, there are times where you see yourself in all of those characters, because there are times when you get angry, and there's times when you get upset, and there's times when you're overjoyed. And my advice to anybody who's thinking, I don't know if Shakespeare is for me, I don't understand those words. I don't understand a lot of those words, and it's perfectly okay. What you need to do is just come in and let that emotion wash over you. And I think, isn't that what theatre is about? Finding something that sparks your emotion. And I think for me, Midsummer Night's Dream will definitely do that in September. Everything on everything that we put on will do that. But Shakespeare, if we go back to what was he trying to achieve? He was trying to achieve an emotion in us. And he saw people, and we still need that today, I think.
And a lot of the time he was just drawing attention to what was around him anyway, wasn't it? What you do when you watch it, really, if you really boil it down, you go, God, that's so true. I'd never thought of it like that. But it's stuff that is right in front of us anyway. Characters that we see in situations that we find ourselves in. He was almost like, it's one of the earliest examples of observational comedy and observational theatre, isn't it? He just drew on what was around him and from the masses and the working classes.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Sometimes I've said that it's the Hollyoaks of its day. Because can you imagine, you'd finish perhaps a long week of work, or a long shift in work, and all you want to do is you really just want to go out with your mates, or go out with your family. Probably pay what you decide. A lot of us would have been standing in that pit in the rain, in the cold, drinking, but we would have had a jolly old time. And I think for me that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about having connecting with people, not just the people who are on stage, but the people that you're with. And we were saying, back with the team, that particularly in a post-COVID kind of world, what we've all missed is experiencing culture and experiencing theatre with the people that we love. It's the connection sideways as well as the connection that's on the stage. Who are we going with, and why are we going with that group of friends, or why are we going with those people that we love? It's because we want to have a connection together with what's on stage. And my real hope for Shakespeare North Playhouse is that we have that on a regular basis, whether that's tea and toast on a Tuesday morning, or whether it is, an excellent piece of theatre on a Friday night in the Performance Garden.
So you've just mentioned the Performance Garden, actually.
Yes, that was on the tip of my tongue as well.
Yes, we know that the Performance Garden is in honour of Sir Ken Dodd, who is obviously one of our greats and one of our favourites. So let us know, how did that come about, and what are you planning on doing with that space?
So I'm so glad that you said it's one of your favourites, because one of my favourites too. Because I think Ken Dodd inspired just so many people, and he, again, I mean, the times that I saw Ken Dodd, my ribs were hurting. I was laughing that much, and I think they were bruised the next day. So it is great that we've got a local legend part of Shakespeare North Playhouse, in the hope that it inspires the next generation of comedians, the next generation of entertainers, the next generation of theatre performers. The Performance Garden is a beautiful space. It truly is. And it would not have been possible without the Sir Ken Dodd Foundation. So it's in a corner behind almost the front door. And the reason why it's there is because it's this lovely secluded spot, so it's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
If there's no theatre on, it's a nice space for contemplation. You could read a book, you could listen to some music, you could be on your own on those steps and just be. And I've done that twice actually, even though it's a building site. And there is this sense of calm and grounding. And there is an element that, it is a garden. So there's a lovely wall of ivy and different plants and perennials. And that, again, I think is calming and restful and good for well-being. But it also has this magnificent stage left, stage right. It's got a great lighting rig. It seats 130 people. It's accessible from the top and from the bottom. And it's going to have incredible performances on from smaller companies. There's a nice big space to be able to design some sets and to be creative. But there's some really excellent pieces coming. So I think we've got Important to Be in Earnest, which I'm looking forward to. We've got Much Ado About Nothing that I'm really looking forward to. We've got Rubbish Romeo and Juliet, which I'm also looking forward to. The great thing is, I don't think I'm ever going to leave once I've got the keys. I think we're going to have to build pull-out beds under the desk. Because what's the point of going home? There's going to be too much to see, too much to do. But the performance garden is brilliant, and Lady Anne Dodd is a huge, huge supporter, continues to be a supporter, and I'm really grateful for the support that she gives me and the team, because it's great to talk comedy on a more technical and a more strategic level as well. Like, how do we make sure that we're bringing comedy to the forethought of maybe artists' minds about a career choice, or maybe even young people in terms of a career choice? And I'm looking forward to that. I mean, comedy is one of the most complicated genres, I think, to be able to execute, and it takes a special, resilient human being to be a good comedian. I certainly could not do it. And so for me, having Shakespeare, but also having this theme of comedy running through is important. It was important for us, but it's also important for Liverpool, because again, we're back to what are we known for? We're known for being funny. So we need to continue that, don't we?
I think it's gorgeous as well that the Performance Garden is honouring not only one of the the greatest comedians in the country, but also somebody that was so, I mean, he never forgot his roots. He was so pro Liverpool. He was such a part of Liverpool, and he never kind of forgot where he came from, and did the whole showbiz Hollywood thing. He stayed really grounded, and because he knew that he knew what a special place it was.
Yeah. I think what's really nice is, and you'll have seen this on the on maybe some of the press, but it's beautiful the way that we've managed to intertwine some Shakespearean quotes with some Ken Dodd quotes
on the steps.
Yeah, on the steps. I think it'll be brilliant that over time kids will wonder who said what, and that's about right. Yeah. That's going to be good. And we'll have tickle and sticks, and I'm waiting for the question from kids saying, "What is this? This tickle and stick?" And well, let me tell you. Well, or yeah, or are we going to have jam bussies, that kind of thing? Yeah. And all of that kind of stuff says to me, we really truly have made it if we can pull those kind of things off.
Well, I think as well, you've just mentioned kids, and we were talking about education and new artists. You can't be what you can't see. And I think to have Ken Dodd, he was a legend in the whole of the country, but to celebrate him right where he's from and remind younger generations you can do it.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to know a little bit. Oh, actually, no, what I want to know, because we've not talked about the inside space, because that is a whole architectural, beautiful space as well, the inside space. How does that differ to a normal proscenium theatre that we're used to going to sit in?
Yeah, I'm going to get told off for not saying that early on.
I can edit you and move you around so that you can edit the first thing. Hi, I'm Mel, and this is what the space looks like.
So you've got three main performance spaces. So you've got the main theatre, you've got the performance garden, and you've got a studio space. So the studio space is where we'll be exploring new contemporary works, we'll be looking at new artists. But the main theatre space is a traditional cockpitting course. So this comes from the times of Henry VIII, where it would have been for blood sport, cockfighting. And we know that Henry VIII loved all that kind of stuff, and the monarchs that followed didn't necessarily love all of that. But what they did do is they loved theatre. So we know Elizabeth I adored theatre. And so what this is an exact replica. And when I say exact, I truly mean exact. And the reason why it's an exact replica is because the person that developed it was an architect called Inigo Jones. And Inigo Jones was like the rock star architect of his day. He brought neoclassical to the UK, and he developed the cockpitting course from Henry VIII into a theatre that you would expect to see today. He did that during the time of Elizabeth I. It's a really interesting journey almost that the theatre goes on. And so we've got the drawings that his nephew made. At the time, there are the mechanical study of how you would put this theatre together. So we know that we've got the blueprint, and the blueprint was given to the craftspeople, the carpenters, to be able to create. And that is 60 tons of English oak, carved by hand by these most brilliant carpenters. And it's put together in the traditional way that it would have been all those years ago. There's not a nail, there's not a screw, there's no glue, there's no staples. And when you stand in that space, you get this sense of real importance. You are somewhere special. You are somewhere truly historic. And you don't feel like you're in a new theatre. You feel like you're standing somewhere that could have been there for 100 years. And that really is testament to the designers. And it's got the configurability that you would have in a traditional in the round setting or an end on stage configuration. So we can play around with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we won't do it all the time, because can you imagine moving that level of oak would be very expensive and time consuming. There wouldn't be anything
and heavy.
And heavy.
Very heavy.
But we will change it throughout the year. So you'll see different performances in different settings. So it could be in the round, it could be an end-on configuration, and it could have this beautiful Inigo Jones designed front scene, with the traditional Juliet balcony and the columns and things. That could be in place. And I'm looking forward to people coming and seeing a set designed or a configuration that they really don't expect to see. So we could go to A Midsummer Night's Dream and it's set in one way, and then we could go to another piece of theatre in 3 months' time and it'd be set in a different way. And that, for me, gives us more creative scope. What's been interesting is standing in that space as a construction site with creatives and seeing the artists and the writers and maybe some of the producers, and their minds you can see their minds fizzing, because they're thinking, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could, and you think to yourself, well, I need to take them outside and get them a cup of tea because they're about to explode. And it's brilliant, because that's exactly what we wanted. And I think the other thing to mention is that, the original Cockpit Court Theatre, which was on the site of Downing Street in Westminster, and there's still some footings there now, wouldn't have had a roof. So rather than have a roof, what we have is a calico, almost set of screens, which is printed in a royal blue night sky with gold stars. So as you come into the theatre, you get that sense that you might be outside. It's so beautiful. And also it would be lit 60% by candlelight.
Wow.
So I have been in an awful lot of meetings about how wax drips. I can assure you it will not drip. We've been in a lot of meetings to talk about what the candelabras would look like, but joking aside, they're stunning pieces of, craft in themselves. So you might come into a performance and it may be lit by candles, but equally we've got a beautiful, hugely expensive lighting rig and a hugely expensive tech kit, which would be, again, speaking to the creatives about how they might use candlelight or how they might use lighting currently. So the space is incredible, and nothing I say to anybody is going to do it justice until you stand in the space.
Sounds incredible.
Frequently I'll take people around for a tour, and people will get goosebumps and people will, tear up, and that's not by any means to diminish the tears, because they're absolutely deserved. It's such a gorgeous space.
I feel like I'm getting goosebumps now just hearing about it. Like, I can't wait to come. I really can't wait to come.
And so lucky that we can do it on our doorstep as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's the joy of it, isn't it? That is the total joy.
Well, why don't we delve into a little bit more about you? Because you mentioned Ken Dodd before. We are huge Ken Dodd fans. Are there any other variety performers that you love?
We've performed for him as well, Mel. We've been his dancers in the past, me and Maria.
We have several.
No way.
We have.
Yeah.
We've done a few happiness shows.
Really?
Well, we trained at Liverpool Theatre School, and the principal of Liverpool Theatre School, Nora Button, was the Diddy Man choreographer for years, like since, the 60s.
Yeah.
And she did it consistently all the way through up until he passed. But yeah, so she always used to get us in.
We've done basically all the Liverpool theatres and New Brighton and everywhere. Anywhere he was on, Nora would be like, I'll get you the dancers. And we did it several times.
I took his mic stand off once, and it's the only thing my nan ever talks about that I've done. She was like, oh, do you remember when you came and took his mic stand off?
Yeah, thanks, Nan. Cheers.
Thanks, Nan. Highlight of my career.
How weird would that have been if I had seen you in a show and I'd been there?
Maybe you did.
Stuff like that. Like, it's quite.
Yeah.
The world's a small place, isn't it? You meet everyone more than once, they say. So yeah, there you go. So what? Yeah, in terms of variety performance, you can't not talk about Ken Dodd, because he's just glorious. And as I said before, for me, it's the legacy. It's almost the inspiration. And he made everything look so effortless, but we know that it wasn't. We know that it was all hard work and it was all graft. And I think for me, in terms of comedy as well, it's a discipline that is so difficult. You have to be so resilient to be a great comedian. And the UK do it better than anybody else, hands down, better than anybody else. For a comedian, you've got to be politically astute. You've got to understand what's going on in society. You've got to be able to read the room and understand how people are going to react to your jokes, and how they do that is just beyond me. So yeah, I'm in awe of most comedians, to be fair.
You have Johnny Vegas is coming up at the Playhouse.
Well, Johnny Vegas, an absolute legend, and he said that Shakespeare on Playhouse was us taking culture back. I thought to myself, how perfect is that?
That is perfect, isn't it?
You need that on one of your steps.
That's true. Yeah, we do. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to our evening with Johnny Vegas, largely because he's also with Jimmy McGovern, legend. What a night that is going to be.
Yeah.
And what's great is Shakespeare Playhouse has got so many supporters. So many. When I started in this role, and people would be emailing and saying, "Oh, well, I'm just popping in," and I'd be like, "Oh, it's Jimmy McGovern." Oh, yes. I'm just going to pop in, I'll see you Friday. And I'd be like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And I must do that twice a week, easy.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many people who are supporting us, who want this to be brilliant. And we know that it will be. But Johnny Vegas is certainly one of them. He is a comedian legend and a good potter as well. So, and that's a really interesting one because we've got some, the history of the box office, when it's called the box office.
I don't know whether I do actually.
So, here you go.
Right, okay, strap yourselves in.
So this is going to sound boring when I start, but so years and years ago, they used to have ushers essentially that would stand outside the theatre, and they would have little pottery, almost like boxes, money boxes, and they'd have them on their belt loops, and they stand outside and they'd take money off people. It was a money box, and they'd take the money off them, and people would go in, and you wouldn't get a ticket, they'd let you in at the door, and then you go to the box office and you'd give them your box, and it was made of pottery, and you'd go out, they'd smash the box, and because it was the box office, where the box office would take all of the money, that's where you get the phrase, the box office. Hundreds and hundreds of people. And so we've got an artist installation in the theatre, which is inspired by the box office. So you'll be able to see lots of different pottery, really small, like almost tennis ball size, of these mini box office that have been set in, clay oven, and they'll be on the wall. They'll have been glazed, as they would have been. They might not have been glazed hundreds of years ago, but and they'll be on display. So it'll be able to. It's that nod to history, heritage, why
and
the box
tradition.
Office called them.
And Johnny's a good potter. So yeah, what more can I've got an image of him now, like Patrick Swayze on the wheel, in Ghost.
Shall we say that to him?
Him and Jimmy McGovern on the wheel.
I'll mention that to them next time I see them.
See what they
So
say.
it'll be a good opening for
Michael said. Yeah, I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, no do.
Amazing.
Pictures. We want pictures.
So we've talked about your wonderful theatre. Are there any other theatres that you hold close to your heart?
Oh no, that's a good question. I'd say you always go back to those first theatres that you visit, don't you? Because it's where you realise that something different's happening. This isn't normal, this place, it's beautiful, it's lovely. So I think for me, it's got to be one of the local theatres. So it would either be the Playhouse, Williamson Square's Playhouse. So I remember walking into that and thinking, this is like a piece of like history in itself. It was gorgeous, it was stunning.
And there's not a bad seat in there.
Well, I was just going to say, and of course, I was at the back with my mum, and I remember thinking, God, this place is amazing. This is glorious. I've never been to anything like it. So I'd say the Playhouse.
What did you see? Can you remember?
Do you know what? I cannot remember. And I keep saying to my mum, what did we go and see, Mum? And she's like, oh, I don't know, love. I don't know. Oh, right, okay. Profound there, Mum. Thank you very much. thanks for that. All I can remember is kind of walking in and then it really going quiet because it was dead bright, and then it going quiet and going dark, and almost my mum saying to me, right, go be quiet now. But I can't remember what it was.
I used to work there, and the best thing about where you're talking about sitting at the gallery at the back, Kim Cattrall was Cleopatra there when I worked there. And all of these girls came, obviously thinking they were going to watch Sex and the City. And they came in, you know what Liverpool girls are like, right? When they go out, and the heels on these girls coming down from the gallery. It's like, it's in flats, it's dangerous.
Thinking they were going to see Samantha does Shakespeare.
Yeah. So I think I know exactly where you mean when you were sat right at the back, because you do feel like you're going to get a nosebleed, don't you?
Yeah. I suppose the only other one really is I remember going to an amateur pantomime in the Crosby Civic Hall, which
I used to go to them years ago. Yes, I know exactly the ones you mean, and they were incredible, weren't they? They were so amazing. One of the, I think when they did Little Red Riding Hood when I was younger, it was one of the best things I'd ever seen. Not even just the best panto, one of the best things I'd ever seen.
And I don't think you ever forget your first panto either.
No.
So I think mine must have been Puss in Boots, I think. It's a Civic Hall in Crosby, and it was an amateur pantomime. And I don't remember thinking it was amateur at the time. I remember thinking it was amazing, like you said. But now I think back to what opportunities that gave people, community, what was important. And Crosby Civic Hall was really, really brilliant at it. And I'm grateful now that they've got loads of volunteers that are looking after that library and are looking after that space. And I'm not quite sure it's back to where it was, unfortunately. I hope it could be one day. But they are doing an absolutely sterling job in trying to keep that Civic Hall going. And I think that we really should pay special attention to those community theatre groups and those community theatres up and down the country, because without them, what memories are we creating? What opportunities are we giving? It's where you meet your friends for life in those kind of opportunities.
Yeah, as you've just said, that idea that when I asked you what's your favourite theatre, you go back to your first memories, and so many of our guests do exactly the same thing. They can have performed, like on all the different corners of the world, and they always come back to these ones that have the emotional connection. And I think coming back to the Shakespeare North, it seems like that is what you are desperately trying to instill in people, is that connection, and you understand the importance of that.
I think more professionally, as I got older, I was wowed by the Garrick. I think the first time I went to the Garrick, I was like, oh wow, no, this is a theatre. And I think when I went to possibly Radio City Music Hall when I went in New York, I think because it's so big, you kind of walk in and you go, what all these seats? This is huge. And I went at Christmas, so I saw the Christmas show. I was just like, this is so over the top. It's incredible. It's like Christmas times a million. And I remember sitting there thinking, this must be cool. If you were a kid and you were coming to this would be really cool. And, meeting Rockettes and all that kind of stuff. So I would say probably they're the ones that stick in the memory as proper theatres and the experience that you get. But then I'd also say things like Blackpool Tower, that's the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you go to Blackpool Tower, I was there for a meeting the other day, and I just popped in and kind of went, I was in a meeting somewhere else, nowhere near the tower, and I just walked past and I went, is the ballroom open? Just because you think, can I walk past Blackpool Tower without going in the ballroom?
Oh, you're speaking our language, Mel. This is exactly the type of dilemmas that we have on a daily basis.
So if you could be a variety performer, Mel, talent aside, you can do anything. You've got any God-given talent given to you. What would you want to be? If you had to walk out onto that stage and entertain a crowd, what would you love to be able to do?
Oh, wow. What a question. It's really quite tough, because I've never really been the person that performs. So even though I love theatre, I never thought to myself, oh, I could go and do that.
Yeah.
And I never thought that. So what could I do if skill was not a problem? Which skill is most definitely a problem. I can't juggle. I can't swallow swords. I think I'd love to be funny. So I've talked about comedy a lot, haven't I? But I'd love to be funny, like Bill Bailey funny. Where he's clever and he's a musician.
Yes. Yeah.
And he can dance. and he's politically sharp. Yeah, I think I'd like to be like Bill Bailey. But if I could, I suppose if I was like part of a whole variety show, I wouldn't mind being the person with the top hat, like the master of ceremonies.
Yes.
Would I be a madam of ceremonies? Or should we just call me a host? Let's do host. Yeah.
I think I prefer madam of ceremonies.
Madam of ceremonies.
If that isn't the most fabulous thing you've heard today, what is?
I think you need to immediately update your LinkedIn from chief exec
to madam of
ceremonies at the Shakespeare North, because that describes your job perfectly.
Can I have a top hat?
Of course.
You can have a top hat and the Anya Taylor-Joy
and the Queen's Gambit, yeah.
Queen's Gambit get up as well.
No, I just think I would love to be able to say to people, here's a great artist, here's a great performer, this is why they're so cool. Enjoy the next 10 minutes of your life because this is great and I'll be back in a minute. And then to be able to, almost like watch from the wings, and then to jump back on and go, weren't they brilliant? I think that would be, I'd love that job.
And that's nice, isn't it? Because you're not only connecting with the performers on stage, you're connecting with the audience as well. You are then the audience's link to the show, and you're their eyes and ears, aren't you? You're that direct.
But without getting too cheesy and sentimental, I think that is what you're doing with this job. And I think that that's perfect, because what you were talking about before about how people might not want to be performers, but they can come to your theatre and they can learn about technical things, or they can learn about costume, playwriting. By you even coming on this podcast and talking to us, you are, we always see the performers. And by you talking to us, as you're showing us that a woman can come and do this kind of job, which I would never have thought that when I was a kid, that I could do your job. And so to hear you talk about it and to know that is possible is, I think you already are a madam of ceremonies.
Thank you very much. I'm about to Google top hats.
Buy one, do it, and wear it on the 15th for your opening parade.
Yes, lead the procession.
Maria, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that now.
No, we'll be disappointed if you don't.
The thing
if there's no pictures of you in a top hat after the 15th, we're going to be like, what was it all for?
And anytime you go to Knowsley Hall, you've got to just do it. Get released.
I think Lord and Lady Derby might have something to say about that, don't you? Lord and Lady Derby might be like, what's with the top hat, Mel? Are you sure about that?
I'm sure they've got some you can borrow, yeah. Sure, they've got a few old ones in the loft.
An absolute attic full of top hats. Well, we always finish by doing a quick round questions. So are you up for that?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story?
Romeo and Juliet.
Liverpool or Everton?
Everton. Of course, Everton. Always Everton.
My family will be very happy to hear that as well.
When you ask other people that question, could you go with Everton or Liverpool?
Oh right, yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, we've only ever asked it once and the answer was a red answer, so we won't talk about that. Would you rather have a day at the Liverpool Tate or at the Beatles Museum?
Oh my gosh. Tate. Tate have got some great exhibitions this summer. You have to go. And they've also got the Turner Prize. You've got to go and see the Turner Prize at Tate.
We'll be there.
Yes.
We will be there. What goes first on a scone? Jam or cream?
I'm going to get into so much trouble. Cream. Everyone's going to hate me.
Oh, Mel.
Cream and then jam.
I just think then the jam gets all sunken into the cream.
To be honest, my granddad used to make scones for me to go home on the bus, and he used to just butter them, so we didn't get any jam or cream.
And actually, just on a genuine note, when we go to the cafe at the Shakespeare North Playhouse, are there going to be scones?
Well, It's funny you should ask that because I said to our head of visitor experience this morning, Darren, his name is, Darren, I haven't seen a menu yet. So I haven't seen a menu yet, so I cannot confirm or deny if there will be scones available.
Well, you said you were going to speak to the people, and the people.
Exactly.
Fair enough. I'll email Darren tonight and I'll say, just like, you know, FYI, scones.
Scones.
With
Judi
the jam
Dench.
on the bottom. With the jam on the bottom.
Well, you can put them in little pots and then people can do it themselves.
Yeah, that's
True.
the one.
Do you think that might be a poll? Should we do a poll on our social
think we
media?
should.
We totally should. Yeah.
We need to know, should we be training people in scone construction, jam or cream first?
I think you should do it and let us know what the result is. And on the 15th, you can eat it however it is.
Fair enough.
So last one, Judi Dench or Judi Garland?
Oh no, you can't ask me. No. Judi Dench. I'm gonna have to say Judi Dench. Yeah. Like by the slightest of margins.
You could have gone straight down the middle and just said Judy Murray. Just thrown a random Judy in there. Judy Finnegan.
No, they are the two best Judys. To be
They are
fair.
the two best
Dench
Judys.
and
What,
Garland.
Murray and Finnegan?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Judi Dench.
I don't think
Although-
anyone would blame you.
Oh, but Judi Garland's awesome.
It
Judi
is a
Dench.
cruel question. It is a cruel question.
It is a cruel question. But Judi Dench, because you've got more chance of seeing her live.
That's very true.
Oh my God, Maria. That was a dark ending.
I have actually seen Dame Judi in 12th Night.
Oh.
Awesome.
Okay,
Awesome.
Well, it's been amazing to speak to you. Thank you for giving us so much of your time. And I would just like to say, I think next time they reconfigure that space, you need to build yourself and us a bed in there so that we all never leave.
I don't think we will. Maybe we need to look at hotel spaces. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
100%. Mel, we can't wait to come. We can't wait to see everything that you're doing. We can't wait to celebrate everything that you've done and everything that you'll hopefully continue to do.
We can't wait to welcome you all in. I can't wait until 15th of July and you can come down to the party. And on the 16th, I think, we've got a morning rave, if you want to join us for the morning rave.
Oh, wow. That would be
Yeah.
incredible. We would
There's
love
another
What does a
carrot.
morning
There's another
rave
carrot angle.
entail? Just a rave, but it's in the morning.
Rave in the morning, yeah. Kids are going to be there.
Love
Still
it.
got glow sticks though, so don't worry.
Oh, there we go.
And tickle
There we
sticks.
go. And-
Oh yeah.
Well, it was lovely meeting you. Thank
Oh,
you.
Mel,
for giving us your
thank you
time.
so much. Honestly, we really appreciate it. And it's been such a
Oh.
pleasure to meet you.
No, it's been brilliant. Thanks very much for listening to me. It's been fab.
See you later. Enjoy those emails.
Thank you.
Try and get back for the chase.
See you later.
Thanks, Mel. Bye now.
Okay,
Bye. Oh, well, we hope you all enjoyed that. We absolutely loved talking to Mel. And like we said at the beginning, her passion totally comes across. I just love the whole thing about the whole premise and the whole ethos of being accessible to the community. I think that is so, so important. And there is a sort of a divide, isn't there, really, of people thinking that theatre is just for the super rich or the super highbrow. And it's not. And it's about discovery. It's about going and exploring and seeing what you like and what you don't like. You've got to treat the theatre like a buffet sometimes, I think.
Mm-hmm. And that you can like everything, you know, you don't have
Yeah.
to just fall into sort of one niche category. I mean, that's the purpose of this podcast, I guess, isn't it? We love variety, and it
Yeah,
sounds
totally.
like there's going to be a lot of variety at the Shakespeare North Playhouse and the Ken Dodd Garden. There you go.
I know. It always comes back to Ken.
It always comes back to Ken Dodd. Now, we have spoken about Ken Dodd so much on this podcast that we are going to do an episode dedicated just to Ken Dodd, looking at his life and speaking to many people about why Ken is the legend that he is.
And it would be nice, won't it, to talk about somebody that we have a direct link to as well. Like we said in the interview, you know, a lot of these people we're talking about from an almost historical point of view, whereas we met the man and had experiences with him firsthand, which is lovely. So look out for the episode highlighting Ken Dodd. And next week, we've got another person that we're highlighting in a very, very special episode where we are going to be talking all about one of our favorite performers, the legendary, the iconic, all the other adjectives, Josephine Baker.
And as part of that episode, we were privileged enough to speak to Nichelle Gaynor, who wrote and curated the Vintage Black Glamour books. Now, her books are just stunning, like visually stunning, and the perfect coffee table books. Oprah's magazine actually called Vintage Black Glamour one of the top 10 books of the year. And it's been reviewed by the Washington Post, by the Huffington Post, the New York Times. She is the real deal, Nichelle, and what she doesn't know about Josephine Baker isn't worth knowing.
I can't put those books down, but they are one of those books that I feel like I need to read with like gloves and tweezers. You know, you turn the page with tweezers.
Like when we were doing the research for Twice Nightly and we were in the restricted section.
Yes,
we
totally.
We had to read them on those cushions.
Totally. Those cushions. So if you've enjoyed our show today and any other time that you listen, please be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and leave us a review on whichever podcast platform that you listen on. And as we always say, we love hearing from you guys. So please get in touch with us. We're available on all of our social media platforms. Facebook, if you search Twice Nightly the Podcast, Instagram at Twice Nightly Theatre Podcast, Twitter at Twice Nightly Pod, TikTok at Twice Nightly Podcast, or as always, you can search for us on YouTube. Just search Twice Nightly the Podcast and you'll get access to all of our episodes from Series 1 and all the current episodes on Series 2. And of course, if that wasn't enough, you can leave us a voice message on our speak pipe. This will be a great way for you guys to get in touch about the upcoming Ken Dodd episode, or there's still time if you want to get your comments in about our Josephine Baker episode. Head over to www.speakpipe.com/Twice Nightly the Podcast. This is a great way for you guys to have your say and be a part of the Twice Nightly community, which we always love expanding.
All that's left for us to say is,
see you next week.
we can't put that in. Oh my God.